Welcome back to English from A to Z, English in real life. You know that feeling, right? You're standing in a store in a new country, your heart's beating just a little bit faster, and you're worried you're about to use the completely wrong word. Well, today we are going to conquer that feeling. We're going to take a super common errand, just a trip to the pharmacy, and turn it into a full-on masterclass for your real-world English skills. And let's be honest, it can be a little stressful using your English out in the wild. But I promise, by the end of this, you are going to have all the words and the confidence you need to handle this one very specific, very important place, like a total pro. Okay, so you've arrived. You're standing outside. But what do you actually call this place? Well, believe it or not, that answer can change quite a bit depending on where you are in the English-speaking world. So let's break this down. In the US, you'll probably go to a drugstore, which is kind of like a mini supermarket that also sells medicine. But the specific counter where you get that medicine, that's the pharmacy. Now, if you pop over to the UK, you're much more likely to hear someone say they're going to the chemist. So while they're all a little different, just remember that in the US, people use pharmacy and drugstore pretty much interchangeably. And now you know all three. All right, so you've made it inside. You walk up to the pharmacy counter with that little piece of paper from your doctor. What is it? And, what happens next? That piece of paper is your prescription. Think of it like a key that unlocks the specific medicine you need. You're going to hand this over to the pharmacist, and they'll probably ask you a couple of quick questions to get everything started. For example, one of the first things they might ask is, would you prefer this in capsule or tablet form? And that's super simple. A capsule is that smooth, kind of tube-shaped pill, and a tablet is the solid, flat, round one. Easy, right? Now you'll know exactly what to say. You're also going to hear them talk about the dosage. This is almost always measured in milligrams, or just mg for short. So the pharmacist might confirm it by saying something like, okay, so that's 50 milligrams. All that means is the strength of the medicine. Okay, now we're getting to one of the most important parts of this whole interaction. The pharmacist is about to give you some really crucial instructions. And for your own safety, listening carefully here is absolutely key. You really want to pay close attention to directions like these. Seriously, these are not suggestions. They are essential rules for your health. Phrases like take 3 times a day, on an empty stomach, and never mix with alcohol might sound simple, but they are so important to follow exactly. Now let's zoom in on a specific phrase you might hear, because it's a really great example of natural, polite English, and it's this one, be sure not to. See, instead of a harsh command like don't do this, saying be sure not to just comes across as a much more caring, friendly warning. It's less direct, it feels helpful, and it's something you'll hear all the time from people who are trying to give you good advice. And this is exactly why those instructions are so incredibly important. It's all to prevent an overdose. Following the directions on how much to take and when to take it is literally the only way to use medicine safely. So you've got your medicine, you understand the instructions, but then you remember you need something else. And, well, things are about to get a little awkward. Oh, we have all been there. You almost forget something and have to add it at the last minute. But in this case, a pretty simple request leads to a classic and, kind of embarrassing retail moment that I think we can all learn from. Uh-oh. The item won't scan. This happens all the time, right? The pharmacist says, no problem, we'll figure it out, and asks the customer to wait. But it's how they figure it out that makes this whole thing so memorable. And there it is, the loud announcement for everyone, and I mean everyone in the store to hear. Now, as cringeworthy as that moment is, it actually introduces 2 really useful phrases you can use in any store. So, a price check is simply what a cashier does when they need to find a price that isn't marked. It's a super common term, so the next time you hear someone shout it across the aisles, you'll know exactly what's happening. And the other phrase, hang on, is just a really friendly, informal way to say wait. You can use it for any short period of time. Hang on a sec, hang on a minute, or the slightly more polite hang on a moment are all totally natural ways to ask someone to wait for a little bit. Okay, so the humor of that awkward moment aside, this whole interaction is just packed with powerful, practical English. Let's wrap this up by summarizing the biggest takeaways that you can start using, like, today. Okay, this one is a big one. It's a non-negotiable rule. It sounds really, really strange to a native speaker if you say you eat or drink medicine. You always, always, always take your medicine. It doesn't matter if it's a capsule, a tablet, or even a liquid. You take it. And this brings us to the two main types of medicine you'll find. So in our story, the Prozac was a prescription medicine. That's why you needed that note from the doctor. But the eye drops, those were over the counter, or you'll often hear it called OTC. That just means you can grab it right off the shelf yourself, no doctor's note, no permission needed. So there you have it. Now you are totally ready for the pharmacy. But what about other situations? Maybe going to the bank or trying to order at a really complicated restaurant. Let us know in the comments what your biggest challenge is. Your real-life situation could be our very next explainer.